Every morning, when you close the door and leave home, your dog is plunged into a psychological earthquake that you cannot perceive. In the endless silence, even the ticking of a clock sounds incredibly amplified to them. People often mistakenly believe that when dogs destroy things or howl while home alone, it's because they're bored, have too much energy, or are seeking revenge. But this is actually a huge misunderstanding. To them, the home after you've left is not a peaceful sanctuary, but a psychological battle involving their survival instincts. Chewed up slippers and barking are merely the tip of the iceberg. To truly understand what your dog experiences after the door closes, we must set aside our biases, dive into their inner world, woven from scents, instincts, and deep attachment, and uncover the truth behind it all. When you sit in a movie theater watching a thriller, the background music slows down, the lights dim, your palms sweat, and your heart races. Something bad is about to happen. For your dog, your daily morning routine of leaving the house is the soundtrack to that thriller. Many owners mistakenly believe that a dog's panic begins the moment the door closes, or the lock clicks shut, but in reality, the seeds of anxiety are sown the instant you wake up in bed and step onto the floor. Dogs are master pattern recognition machines. They don't look at clocks, yet they can precisely decipher your farewell symphony. The rustle of fabric when you put on that specific jacket, the motion of picking up your work bag instead of the dog park bag, the scent of your perfume, and even the subtle changes in your breathing and footsteps. Day after day, a dog's brain pieces together these dozens of tiny cues into a clear countdown to Doomsday. Before you even touch the doorknob, their alarm system is already in full swing. Veterinary behavioural experts at the University of Edinburgh in the UK used high-precision infrared thermal imaging technology to track changes in dogs' facial temperatures and discovered a heartbreaking fact. For dogs suffering from separation anxiety, as early as 20 minutes before their owner actually leaves, merely when the owner begins to style their hair or picks up their keys, the temperature around their noses and eye sockets drops precipitously. This is known as vasoconstriction. When the nervous system perceives extreme danger and enters fight or flight mode, blood flows back from the extremities to the core organs. At this moment, many dogs appear calm on the surface, perhaps even wagging their tails. But physiologically, they are in a state of extreme panic. They aren't calmly watching you leave. They're desperately watching the countdown tick down to zero. This explains why the traditional approach of distracting them with a treat, dispensing toy, is completely ineffective for severely anxious dogs. When the survival alarm goes off, even the most delicious food tastes like cardboard. When you confide in friends or experts about your dog's loneliness, the most common advice you'll hear is, get another dog, they can keep each other company. This sounds logical from a human perspective, but it is an extremely dangerous misconception. To use an analogy, imagine you're a 3-year-old child, lost in a supermarket, desperately longing to find your mother. If a security guard brings over another stranger child and says, "You're both kids now, you're not alone anymore," would that ease your fear? No. What you want isn't just anyone. It's your mum. To your dog, you're not just the pack leader or a food provider. You're the gravitational center of their entire universe. Separation anxiety isn't fundamentally a fear of being alone, but rather an extreme panic over the absence of a specific attachment figure. Animal neuroscientists at the University of Bristol conducted an fMRI study in which dogs with separation anxiety were placed in 3 different scenarios. Complete solitude, being with another dog, and being alone in a room with a dirty t-shirt worn by their owner. The results stunned the scientists. When the other dog appeared, the amygdala, the part of the brain that processes fear, did not calm down. In fact, stress levels rose as the dog had to process the social cues from the other dog. But when they smelled the dirty t-shirt imbued with their owner's sweat, the caudate nucleus, the center for reward and deep emotion in the dog's brains, lit up instantly like a Christmas tree, releasing powerful soothing signals and triggering oxytocin secretion. This study provides irrefutable evidence dog's anxiety is highly person-specific. Introducing a second dog cannot fill the emotional void left by your absence. At best, you'll end up with one extremely anxious dog and another completely bewildered one. The collision of these two sources of unease will only make matters worse. If you're looking at that little furball sleeping beside you right now and suddenly realize just how irreplaceable you are in their life, if you're the kind of owner willing to understand your dog's inner world, please subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs. Because every like and follow is more than just a number. You're telling the platform's algorithm that dogs' emotional well-being isn't a mere afterthought. Their psychological pain is just as real as ours, and they deserve to be seen, understood, and treated with kindness by the world. Join our cause, and let's become a better source of support for them together. Let's talk about one of the most easily overlooked scenarios. You come home from work, and everything in the house is as usual. The sofa is intact, and there are no noise complaints. Your dog is lying quietly by the door. When they see you, they just lazily lift their head and yawn. You breathe a sigh of relief. Great, they've gotten used to being alone. But your eyes might be deceiving you. Humans are accustomed to gauging distress through dramatic reactions. But canine psychology has an extremely dark flip side: emotional freezing. After enduring prolonged, inescapable loneliness, some dogs' brains shut down external behavioral expressions. They don't bark, not because they feel safe. They don't destroy things, not because they've learned good manners. They are quiet, because their nervous systems have completely overloaded and shut down from prolonged, excessive strain. A veterinary behavioral team at the University of Lincoln in the UK conducted covert physiological monitoring of dogs rated by their owners as very quiet when left alone. The dogs wore miniature monitors to record subtle pupillary reactions, muscle tremors, and heart rate variability. The results were shocking. During up to 8 hours of solitude, these dogs, who appeared to be sleeping the entire time, spent over 70% of that time in a state of awake stupor. Though their bodies remained still, their heart rate variability was extremely low, a key indicator of extreme stress. Their pupils remained slightly dilated in a state of alertness, and their muscles exhibited continuous, tense micro-tremors. Blood samples confirmed that cortisol and adrenaline levels in these quiet dogs were even higher than those in dogs that frantically destroy their homes. Destructive behavior and howling are actually outlets for stress. When dogs lose these outlets and bottle up all their panic inside, the constantly surging stress hormones silently erode their immune systems and internal organs. That dog, who looks like it's doing nothing, might be the one who needs your help the most. With absolute silence, they weather one tsunami after another alone in a house without you. Now, let's face a reality that may be uncomfortable, but is absolutely crucial. Every day when you come home from work, you find a mess on the floor, the trash can overturned, and your leather shoes chewed to shreds. You're already exhausted from a long day at work, and your first reaction is undoubtedly anger. You yell at them, point at the torn shoes to scold them, or even deliberately ignore them. In your logic, the dog did something wrong, so it must be made to understand the mistake, so it won't dare to do it again. But in the dog's mind, this is a complete communication disaster across different time frames. Dogs are creatures that live purely in the present moment. The anxiety it felt 3 hours ago when it chewed up the shoes, and the state of mind it has 3 hours later when you walk in the door, are disconnected in its brain. It absolutely cannot understand that because I chewed the shoes, my owner is angry. It can only establish a causal link between simultaneous events. The owner's return equals anger, shouting, and dangerous emotions. You think you're punishing destructive behavior, but in reality, you're turning your appearance into a terrifying threat. How does this emotional landmine work? You leave. The dog gets anxious and chews something up. Time passes. It hears footsteps outside the door. The person it's missed all day has finally returned. The door opens, and what greets it is an angry face. Day after day, the dog not only fears your departure, but also begins to dread your return. The entire home becomes a continuous stress reactor. The only antidote to break this vicious cycle is this. No matter how devastating the scene you see when you open the door, take a deep breath and close your eyes. Set aside your emotions, ignore the mess. Greet them in the most neutral tone possible, or remain silent and quietly clean up. Your return must always be an absolutely safe haven, unconditional. You may have already realized that the anti-anxiety pheromone sprays, white noise machines, and herbal supplements on the market often have little effect, because they try to patch a bursting dam with a band-aid. True intervention shouldn't happen 8 hours into the fire's spread, but the very moment the first spark ignites. The real solution is called micro-desensitization and reshaping. The core logic is incredibly simple. You must use countless tiny, absolutely safe, deceptive maneuvers to dilute that terrifying goodbye countdown clock in their brain. What we need to do is completely scramble the notes of the goodbye symphony. On a weekend when you have no intention of going out, put on your coat, grab your keys, and walk toward the front door. Don't open it. When the dog's ears perk up and its breathing quickens, take off your coat, put down the keys, and go back to the couch to watch TV. Repeat this 10 or 20 times a day. Then walk to the door, press the doorknob to make a click sound, let go immediately, and go back to the kitchen to pour a glass of water. Next, open the door and step outside, leaving it slightly ajar, and stand there for 2 seconds. Then walk back inside before the dog's alarm goes off completely. This training is absurd, tedious, and makes you feel like this isn't training at all. But that is precisely its genius. You aren't teaching the dog obedience. You're rewiring its brain like a neurosurgeon. Through hundreds of tiny, incremental steps, you're forcibly updating its predictive system. When the sound of keys no longer signifies the end of the world, but simply means Mom is just stepping outside for a moment. When the slam of the door is no longer a chasm separating life and death, but a brief interlude before the door will open again in 2 seconds. Only then will your dog's taut nerves truly relax. With absolute patience, you are rebuilding the foundation of something called trust. Finally, always remember, emotions are highly contagious. Your dog is your mirror. If you leave every day with a sense of tragedy thinking, "Oh no, I'm leaving you alone again, I'm so sorry," hugging it reluctantly with a racing heart and a tone of guilt, your dog cannot understand guilt. It can only sense extreme tension. It will think, if the leader is this scared, there must be something terribly frightening outside the door. I can't be left behind. Your calmness is the strongest armor you can give your dog. When you leave, be composed, unflappable, and matter of fact. When you return, be gentle, steady, and unruffled. Use your energy to tell it, this is just a perfectly normal little thing. I've got everything under control, and you just need to rest easy. The human world is vast and complex, but in a dog's life, there is only you. No love in the world is as pure and unconditional as theirs. That closed door cuts off the very meaning of its existence. During the long wait, it filters out all the noise just to catch the sound of your car. It clings to your lingering scent as its only lifeline. All its panic and destruction stem from a love for you that transcends the instinct for survival. So please forgive its little acts of destruction and its enthusiasm, and have compassion for that tiny figure enduring such agonizing vigil. Because in its little universe, the moment you open the door is not the end of the day, but the sun rising anew and a miracle descending once more.